Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Big Ziff here, and today we're going to be talking about what I think are the best options for bows for Venti from free-to-play perspective and maybe a pay-to-win perspective as well. So first I'm going to start out by saying you really could run almost any weapon with Venti. He is so strong that I think even any of these 3-star weapons with crit rate substat, crit damage substat, or this elemental mastery substat, these could all still be very viable. Obviously the passives aren't very good and the base attack isn't good, but enhancing his substats like that makes his ultimate and his E so strong still that like it doesn't really matter. Obviously I think the 4-star weapons are where he'll thrive, and one of the best options you can get is this Favonius Warbow because it's given out to every player for free for reaching AR 18. The reason it's such a good weapon is because it gets really high energy recharge. Obviously, its base attack is a little bit lower than some of the other 4-star weapons, but it gets such high energy recharge that you can pretty much get your ultimate all the time, especially when you're running him with someone like Xiao. So I will say up until around like AR 50 or so, I was using the Favonius Warbow consistently until I got the Stringless. I will say that I think the Stringless is going to be one of the better options for 4-star free-to-play options. I have it refinement rank 2 right now, but the reason it's so good is because it gives Venti increased elemental mastery, as well as the passive is insanely good. It increases his elemental skill and burst damage by 24% initially, and then it goes up by 6% with each refinement. The reason the Stringless is so strong already is because Venti ascends with energy recharge. So he'll actually have a decently high energy recharge, almost 150% at level 90, which will still be good enough to get his ult fairly quickly. Obviously, more energy recharge is better in this case because he can cycle through his ultimate a little bit quicker. But I think for support Venti, I like the Elemental Mastery bonus personally, just because all of his ultimate attacks that I do with him will always almost mix another element. There's no way that I'm just going to let it sit there for 10 seconds or whatever the time is and be anemo damage only. You want to mix it with other elements like Hydro or Pyro, any of those. The next option I'll talk about is the Sacrificial Bow. I think this is also one of the top choices you can use for Venti for free-to-play options. Again, it ascends with energy recharge, which is going to be super good for cycling through his ultimate. On top of that, you'll get that chance to cycle through your elemental skill again, especially when he's your only anemo user and you're trying to get more of those energy particles. Especially if you have a refinement on this as well. If you can get this up to like 60 or 70%, you'll consistently get two procs of your E and then be able to cycle more particles as well. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is Rust. I don't have Rust unlocked. Obviously, I'll put it on screen now. I don't think Rust will be one of the better options for Venti just because of that passive. It's really not going to improve his kit really at all. Obviously the attack percentage is okay as a substat, but things like energy recharge, elemental mastery, crit rate, crit damage, those are always going to be better for Venti just because of the way he is used as a support. One of the other really good options I want to talk about is the Blackcliff Warbow. This is in the shop right now, so anyone could pick this up. Obviously it ascends with crit damage, which is going to be insanely strong with Venti if you have some crit chance or a crit rate helmet, for example. Obviously, the passive is kind of mediocre because it's contingent on the fact that you would defeat an enemy and then proc this attack boost. But if you think about the way Venti's ultimate works, he's sucking in multiple enemies at once. Like if you have a bunch of treasure hoarders or slimes or something, if they're all getting destroyed at once, then this could actually proc repeatedly and still get a crit damage increase. So I think Blackcliff Warbow is going to be one of those really, really good weapons. If you have no other good 4-star weapons, this is an option you could think about. The next one I'll talk about is the other shop weapon, which is the Royal Bow. I don't have this one either, but again, similar to the Rust, I don't think its passive and its substat are really advantageous for Venti's kit. Obviously, they're not the worst, and pretty much like I said, any bow can really work with Venti. But if you're trying to maximize him as a support, what you're really trying to get is that increased elemental mastery, or increased energy recharge, or increased crit rate, crit damage. Obviously, these stats aren't perfect right now, but you can see that like with my high elemental mastery, it increases my swirl damage by 150%. So even when Venti has low attack, he can output so much damage repeatedly. So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to talk about the 2 craftable bows, and I'm going to just say it right out, straight up. These are not going to be very good on Venti, neither of them. You're better off just running the Favonius Warbow than either of these weapons, so I would suggest not crafting either of these. Don't waste your prototypes for this weapon, especially with 1.4 coming out. It looks like we're getting like 3 or 4 new bows that could potentially be insanely good for Venti, so just be aware of that. But the prototype Crescent has an attack percent substat, which isn't the worst again, but it's not going to be ideal for Venti. Additionally, the passive is pretty much trash for what you're trying to achieve with Venti. You're not going to be doing charge attacks with Venti unless you're like fighting a Ruin Guard or something, where you need a charge attack to destroy the eye, but this weapon is just not going to be ideal for him at all. The same goes for the compound bow. This is just going to boost physical damage and normal and charge attack damage and attack speed. None of that is going to apply to Venti as a support, at least, because all he's really going to be doing is trying to proc his ultimate and his E ability constantly. You're going to be switching out of him as often as you possibly can, pretty much. So I think that pretty much covers all of the free-to-play options. If we were to talk about pay-to-win options, or possible option, is the Viridescent Hunt from the Battle Pass. The reason this weapon is actually viable is because it ascends with crit rate. However, the passive is not like ideal, I would say. Again, it's okay, but you're really not going to be doing normal or charged attacks with Venti. So the only reason I would be running this is to increase my crit rate by 30% or whatever the max is for this. I think it's like 28 or something. Again, I would still, even if I had like the crit rate that I have now, which is like 30% on Venti, I would still probably run the Favonius Warbow before I run this, and that's just my opinion. But it's still a good option if you want to run it. So currently in the game, we only have 2 5-star weapons for bow users, and that's the Skyward Harp and the Amos bow. I will say that I think the Skyward Harp trumps the Amos bow by far, obviously. The Amos bow was pretty much built for Ganyu in the sense that it is meant for normal and charge attacks, and increasing the damage of those. And since, like I said, you're not going to be doing those with Venti, you're mainly just going to be using his E or his Q ability. Skyward Harp is actually an extremely viable option if you have that. It'll increase your crit rate as well as your crit damage, and also gives them a chance to proc a large physical AoE attack. So Skyward Harp at the moment is probably going to be the strongest weapon for overall potential, but again, this game has luckily designed it so we get a free 4-star weapon that is extremely viable on Venti for cycling through his skills. And on top of that, we have really, really good 4-star options that can really bring out his true potential in terms of how much damage he can do as a support. Okay guys, so this is me recording this literally 10 minutes after I made this video, and I just wanted to put this in there. I got a single wish from the standard banner from the Battle Pass, Acquaint Fates. Look what I pulled. Skyward Harp. Obviously, this is still my account. I just wanted to show you guys, give you a little update. That's insane. The reason that's insane is because if you look at my history, I literally pulled Mona like 10 wishes ago. So Skyward Harp right there. Mona right there. That was like, what, 2, 8... 13 wishes ago. So yeah, I just wanted to include that in there really quick. But anyways, back to the video. And I think the last thing I will close with is if you haven't leveled up any of your bows, I might just tell you to hold on until 1.4 comes out, because I think we're going to be getting another free 4-star bow from one of the events. On top of that, it looks like there's going to be another 4-star bow and a 5-star bow that's coming. I've heard that this 5-star bow is going to be insanely overpowered. It's probably going to be the strongest bow in the entire game for Venti. Just keep that in mind. If you haven't leveled up your Favonius Warbow or a Stringless or Sacrificial Bow or anything like that, I would just hold off and maybe farm Venti's materials or level up his talent books or get his talent books or something like that. Maybe hold off on the bow until the next event comes out, because they're going to be giving us a lot of rewards and there's going to be some new 4- and 5-star bow weapons that are coming out, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the guide, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you found it helpful, please leave me a like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.